It's 1986 in France. Young 16-year-old Roger is returning home from his boarding school for summer vacation. As he rides alongside his maid, Mrs. Muller, he's very interested in her 2 huge watermelons. We can see this as he continues to peek at it every now and then. Mrs. Muller sees him spying on her bosom, but she instead gives him a go-ahead laugh. Roger and Mrs. Muller ride to the mansion. A beautiful maid rushes out to welcome Roger. She takes his luggage from him and asks if he remembers her, Ursula. Though it's been 3 years, Roger still remembers her pretty well. His mother happily welcomed him too. Although she has a problem with anything that doesn't seem hygienic, like Roger's pants, they go inside and Roger's little sister Bertha welcomes him home with a kiss. After settling down, Roger decides to take a walk in the bushes when he sees Mrs. Muller's husband sending prayers so that his third leg could get hard again. He makes a sound and quickly runs away. While hiding, he runs into Ursula having her first hole infiltrated by a guy. Ursula laughs and greets him. This time Roger runs so fast he doesn't look back. In the evening, Roger has dinner with his family. While his mother and Mr. Frank discuss over dinner, his attention is focused on another beautiful maid, Helen. Before going to bed, Roger hears a noise outside. He goes to check and finds Helen getting it rough behind her back. He goes back to his room with curiosity when his sister appears to be hiding under his blanket. She asked him if he likes their aunt Margaret, who is a virgin even at her age. Roger inquires of Helen and begins to throw his head back in the cloud as he thought of Helen when his sister noticed his other head was already high. Kate, Bertha's nanny, finds Bertha and sends her to her room. She also finds Roger's inquisitive little brother sticking up. She opens his blanket but falls on Roger, who then gives her a weird smile. The next morning, Roger and Bertha spy on the maids by the riverside. They overheard them talk about Mrs. Muller's worthless husband who couldn't get his little brother hard. Nonetheless, Mrs. Muller still loves her husband. Immediately, a group of men working at the stable in the mansion pass by. They laugh about their wieners as they all pissed and claim to have seen Ursula's backside. However, Ursula spices up the chatter by refreshing the boy's memory of her backside again. Later, Roger's father returns home with his elder daughter, Elisa. She's engaged to a pilot, Romano. Roger goes to spy on Ursula working in the stable. He tries to sneak a peek at her from below, but a guy there, Adolf, catches him and throws hay at him while laughing. Roger annoyingly leaves the stable. On the way, he sees his sister who tells him about confession and takes him to the church. Bertha takes him to a secret spot where she usually goes to watch everyone else confess. However, she leaves and tells him it's usually fun to listen to confessions. Roger's aunt Margaret confessed to Father Gabriel how she'd been having impure thoughts about her nephew. In the process, Roger falls through the roof and exposes himself lurking. Roger is summoned in front of everyone and he's whipped very well. Later, he's crying on his bed when he begins to hear noises from outside. He goes to check on it and sees Helen getting ploughed from behind again. This time, Mr. Frank was also enjoying the show. After the show, Mr. Frank takes his leave, but Roger follows him up to his room where he caught him stargazing. Immediately, Roger steps in and Mr. Frank takes his leave. Roger uses Mr. Frank's telescope to spy outside and sees something he wasn't supposed to. He picks up a book that has exciting images and leaves. On the way to his room, he eavesdrops on his parents doing their business. Roland, his sister's fiancé, catches him and threatens to tell. Roger begs him not to, so Roland makes Roger wash his vehicle. Later, Roger goes to the barn to secretly watch the images of his book he hid. In the process, he hides when Adolf comes in and so does Kate. Adolf traps Kate and goes around to give it to her from behind. Roger goes back inside. He notices Elisa has a book like his, so he switched them. On his way out, he watched Elise read the book and get excited over the images. Later, Roger watched her closely when she's alone. She's filled with joy and imagines things as she reads the book. Roger goes into the kitchen and tries to grab Ursula from the back. However, Ursula breaks a plate on his head knowing it was him. After she apologized and put cold water on his head while rubbing her chest on his face, Roger leaves the kitchen. He makes a vow to himself to do it today. He approaches Mrs. Muller from behind and tries to get his Pinocchio working, when suddenly news of Germany declaring war against France broke the moment. Every man in the country is called to war except Roger and a few other men like Mr. Frank, who had asthma. Now with all the men gone, Roger has all the beautiful maids to himself. He starts off with Ursula, who he pretends to give a helping hand, but instead steals a kiss on her neck as they work. Roger rips his shirt apart, and Ursula is the first person he has a hormone sandwich with. When he comes downstairs, his sister tries to get him to reveal who he did it with. Roger refuses, so instead, his sister takes him to their mother, who was in the middle of a confession with Father Gabriel. They hear her confess to the father about her husband, who likes giving it to her in strange positions. However, Father Gabriel says since they're both satisfied, it was natural for them to continue. Suddenly, their mother heard giggles from behind and called out to Roger. Roger doesn't respond to her calls, but now there were no men in the house to discipline him. Soon after, he swims to visit Kate by the riverside. who said she had heard a lot of things about Roger. Roger stands up and Kate is excited to see his winker. Roger splashed water on her playfully and they later got on with it. Roger's father comes back home from his factory. Elisa brings a newspaper carrying a photo of Roland and she's elated by this. Roger asks his father why they were fighting the war, but his father doesn't tell him. He asks his Aunt Margaret, who then tells him she didn't know, but Elisa says it was because men just love to fight each other. When his aunt asked if Roger would want to fight, Roger immediately declined, saying he loved to stay in the mansion with a tricky smile. That night, his aunt and Kate are spying on his parents doing their business. This time, they were role-playing. Roger is very cocky and doesn't see the need to hide from his parents, so he enters the room and takes the front seat. His father gets shocked after seeing him, and so does his blindfolded mother. Nevertheless, he just walks out casually. He goes into his aunt's room and demands a kiss from her. She pecks him, but he wants more. She demands him to leave her room, but Mr. Frank knocks on the door and recites a love poem for her. Meanwhile, Roger takes her into the room and makes her perform a fellatio on him. That night, he follows Mr. Frank to his chamber, and he tells the man to have some fun with the women, as it was very easy. Mr. Frank timidly says it was only easy for him. During midnight, Helen, who's always getting her back serviced, walks down the hallway to Roger's room. At first, Roger pretends not to be interested in her, so he sends her out. On her way out, he pulls up her cloth and they have a hormone sandwich. The next morning, Roger listed the girls he had serviced to his little sister. However, his sister shows him one more person he hadn't done it with yet, his elder sister, Elisa. So he follows her inside the stable. He pretends to be nice and relieve her from stress by pulling off her boots. Then he begins to get messy. She struggles, but Roger convinces her that no one was going to know what they did. Mrs. Muller, who's at the other stable, doesn't even know what the two are up to. As all the men are absent, the urge to get the women serviced increased day by day. Ursula and Helen run into themselves when rushing into Roger's room. However, Roger is pleased to see both women care for his presence. After he's done with them, his aunt runs into the room after they leave. Kate moves in immediately too, and so does Ursula again for another hormone game. The next afternoon, Elisa tells Roger she's pregnant, which is a shock to Roger. Just then, a plane flies above them. It doesn't take long before Roland lands the plane and the men return from war. That night, the entire family had dinner to celebrate Roland's return. In the morning, Mrs. Muller receives news that her husband is dead from the war. Adolf is now crippled, so the servants hang him upside down to straighten his leg. In the night, Ursula runs to Roger to inform him she was pregnant. Roger immediately starts cooking plans in his head. He makes Ursula get red nail polish. As Ursula is leaving, his aunt comes in, and before she finishes speaking, Roger asks if she's pregnant. She says yes. Surprised, Roger tells her to marry Mr. Frank. He was calm and didn't expect too much in life. She begins to think and laugh over it. Ursula returns with a nail polish, and the both of them run to his sister's room. They try to make it seem like Roland was the one who got her pregnant by putting a few drops of polish on Elisa's blanket. Then, Roger convinces Elisa to make Roland do it for the night. He takes Margaret up to Mr. Frank's room and convinces her to put up a good act for him to do her. After his effort, he takes Helen into his room and they have a hormone sandwich just the way she likes it. A few weeks later, the ladies get married. Ursula marries Vincent, the one-eyed man, Elisa marries Roland, and Margaret marries Mr. Frank. The vacation is over and Roger is going back to school. He greets the ladies farewell before leaving. On his way out, he runs to Helen, who is now pregnant, although she happily tells him she doesn't want a husband. Outside, Roger's father is taking him back to school. Adolf is seen walking like a pet fish that escaped from its pond. Roger smiles, listening to his mother, who tells him not to give in to temptation as a young man. The adventure of Roger ends as he's driven away by his father. Such a crazy lucky kid. Thanks for watching and leave a like if you enjoyed the video.